Now, MindzCollide, episode 5. We're back at it again, like a crack addict.
Yes,
CDT,
sir.
my bro. How you doing, bro?
Feeling like shit, man. How about you?
Wait, you're feeling like what?
Feeling like shit, man. How about you?
Oh, damn it. I didn't expect that. I'm feeling pretty good, bro. And now,
Nah, yeah,
I'm
me
feeling
too,
a little
bro.
bit
Just
guilty,
said
bro.
that because I knew you weren't expecting it.
oh, so you're playing with me. Okay. I see what you're trying to do.
Gotta have a little bit of fun at the start of the episode, man. What can I say?
Facts. You're not lying. You're not lying. Definitely, bro. But anyway, apart from feeling like shit and I'm feeling good, like I said, let's kick this off, man. Let's talk about we got a couple really interesting topics. The first one is fame, the concept of fame. What's the first thing that comes to mind when I say the concept of fame? Like, what do you think about fame in general?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me when you say that is just the recognition for something that you do, like a talent that you have or some work that you put out, and obviously like large scale recognition. I mean, if we want to talk about the exact definition of fame, I think in the Cambridge Dictionary, it's the state of being known or recognized by many people because of your achievements, skills, etc.
Exactly. Yep. So pretty much you're recognized by a lot of people because of something you do. That's the concept of fame, right? Like that's what it is in a nutshell. You're on this, you have this huge platform where people recognize you because of something you've done, whether that's art, I don't know, what else can you be recognized for? Art, music, right? Movies.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Anything else?
One thing that interests me about that is, I mean, technically, just by the dictionary definition, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. By that definition, me and you would technically be classified as having fame.
That's true. Yeah, for sure. But I would also say that, not to make this whole conversation about us, because we got some other things to talk about, right? But I mean, my name is famous, but I'm not famous on a personal level. And it's different for you though, because you're public. I'm not a public personality. So you're actually famous. I'm not famous.
But I think the interesting thing is that if you asked either one of us, we'd say that we don't consider ourselves famous, right? Even though, like you said, your name is famous, you probably still don't necessarily consider it like that, right?
Absolutely not. Nope.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It just feels normal, man. This is just what we do.
I think just to add on, that conversation before we move on, I think I would put myself in a place where I'm recognized in a very particular space. But outside of that space, like people who don't consume hip hop content or someone who's really into the hip hop culture, I'm a nobody. But to people who
very true.
are in this space, I'm not famous, but I'm just someone who is well respected within the space. The same goes for you, right?
Definitely. But then when you expand it, when we're talking about like the other people being famous, there's good parts and bad parts to that, right? The topic of fame is a pretty interesting one, if you ask me.
Yeah, man, I agree with you, bro. I mean, so many different things to talk about it when it comes to the whole concept of fame. Let's talk about this article, man. So this article is by, we'll put it on the screen right now. It's by Real Rundown, and the title of it is Advantages and Disadvantages of Being a Celebrity, right? Being famous, same thing. And it kicks off saying being a celebrity has its ups and downs. Being a celebrity or simply being famous has its... The common perception is that celebrities and famous personalities have everything in life. After all, the grass is always greener on the other side, isn't it? And so one of the first points they talk about is so they have 5 major advantages of being a celebrity and 5 disadvantages, right? So the first one is one of the advantages is celebrities get special treatment wherever they go.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, fame is just something that, for whatever reason, is valued in our society. So it makes sense that when people are famous, they get special treatment in certain places. Saying that they get special treatment wherever they go, I think that kind of depends on how famous they are. But if we're talking about like super famous people, then that definitely makes sense. It's like you get sort of extra perks to life.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. One thing I want to say about that is, number one, you said it's valued, right? Which it is. And then, you know, in this article, they talk about how it's actually one of the disadvantages, by the way. What I'm going to say right now is in one of the disadvantages, if I'm not mistaken. But, you know, you get special treatment. But really, is it really special? It's the way I see it is, it's kind of like, I don't know, fake treatment, man. Because automatically you're going to have all these. And this, you know, obviously depends on how famous you are, right? Justin Bieber, or, you know, they mentioned Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber, right? They're like ultra famous. So wherever they go, they're going to have that, hey, Justin, hi, Selena, like, hi, Drake, hi, Kendrick, hi, J. Cole. Like, that's a different kind of fame. Hi, Eminem, right? And I think depending on how famous you are, it's kind of like, you know, it goes down a notch. Like, okay, so it goes from hi, Drake, hi, Eminem to, I'm trying to think of, I don't know, hi, Hobson.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like the more famous you are, the more. The point I was trying to make, by the way, was like the more famous you are, the more you're gonna have that quote unquote special treatment wherever you go. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, and what you brought up there was what I find interesting about this, and it makes sense, is that a lot of the reasons why these things are advantages are the same reasons why the disadvantages exist here. Like, for example, number 3 they have on here is celebrities are recognized everywhere they go. And obviously, you know, that can be a good thing because it means people are recognizing you for your work. You get a bit of an ego boost about that. But then, I mean, the disadvantages of that is the first one they have is famous people can't do things that the average person can. And that's because they get recognized everywhere they go.
I see that.
So, yeah, it's such a back and forth thing. Like, there's good things about it, but those good things, with that comes bad things.
So, I mean, it's the negatives, you know, the advantages counter the, you know, the disadvantages and so forth. Because and we can even move on to the next point. It says being famous generally means being richer. And I have a counter to that. In this day and age, you can be famous as hell, but not really have a lot of money, because there's this thing called social media clout, right? So people are popping on social media. They're famous, right? Through social media, they do something. I don't know. Could I use anyone as an example? I'm trying to think of someone who's like famous for no reason. I don't know, like these
Putting Gorilla Glue in their hair.
Oh yeah, exactly. there we go. Right. We've all heard about that situation, and maybe people haven't. I'll just put something on the screen regarding that. But yeah, that's one thing. So that woman, I think it was a woman, right?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
There we go. So that woman I guess she's famous right now, but
then actually that might have been a bad example for me to use, because in that case, she did sort of use that situation in ways to make money. Like, I'm pretty sure she had a GoFundMe, she made merch, so she capitalized on that moment. So maybe that wasn't the best example to use.
No, that is a good example, because it doesn't mean that she's rich. She just has an influx of she's capitalizing on the clout she's getting right now. And
true, it's not like long-term money. I see.
Exactly, right? So there's levels to this shit, and one of those levels is, you know, you, I guess, being able to capitalize on the fame you have long term.
And there's one thing also that came into my mind that sort of touched on within this article, but it's actually related to something we talked about in the last podcast episode. I believe it was the last one, number 4, where we talked about if being a rapper is a dangerous job. And that when we were talking about it, a lot of that has to do with the disadvantages of being famous, of being known, because, for example, with rappers that have been shot, a lot of that can come from them being so well known and, you know, sort of being such a public figure, people knowing who they are. That kind of ties into that conversation.
Right. So the fame, I guess, like putting a target on their head it's not even because of what they have, it's because of them being famous. Like, they're so recognized, their face, their name. So wherever they go, right? And the third point is celebrities are recognized everywhere they go, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's technically a negative. I mean, it is good that people love you wherever you go, but it is also negative because you don't have, you know, the peace of mind of just moving how you want to move without really looking over your shoulder.
Exactly. That's why it's such a sort of complex thing, I guess, because I feel like you have to, if you're famous, it's there's a certain level you don't want to go past to being famous.
Speak on that.
Like definitely it's sort of like you want to be at a level where you if it's something you want, obviously, if you're doing something you want to be recognized for, then say for example that you're putting out music, you want people to enjoy that music, and when you're out in public, maybe have people come up to you, tell you how much that they like it, because that's you getting some real life like respect for your work. But if it gets to the point that you're getting that like every single day, like 20 times, like just imagine that, just constantly, you'd get sick of that. You get sick of that. So it's like there's a certain level you want to get to if that's something that you desire, but going past that, it honestly just sounds like it would be hell.
Yeah, for sure. See, you said getting sick of that, which is something, when I speak to artists, that's something I always ask them about, like, how are you dealing with fame? Because I'm just so interested in this topic, right? But they all say that, hey, it was cool in the beginning, but it's not really cool now. Right? It's cool, the first year or two, and then after that it's like, can I just be left alone? And because let's talk about this, man. And I don't think this article talks about that, but fame, man, is such an unnatural thing to like be famous. Like, does that make any sense? You're not supposed to get validation or negative feedback wherever you go. I feel like it's not really healthy for your brain.
No, definitely no. It's not a natural thing. And one thing I wanted to touch on there is like you said, when the artists do get sick of it, unless you're someone that's managed to completely fall off the face of the earth and like people aren't really keeping up with you anymore, you can't really take it back. You can't erase that recognition.
That's so scary. Yeah, speak on
It's-
that.
it's
That's
like-
so scary.
It's like you said, when you talk to them and they say they enjoy it for the first year or two, it must feel great during that year or two, but then afterwards it's almost like sort of being locked in a cage that you originally wanted to be in, but then
Yeah.
it just goes on to become a bad thing.
So pretty much, I guess you're like in a weird way, you're like a slave to your recognition because of your talent, right?
Absolutely, man.
Because see, the thing is too, is like people forget that everybody who is famous doesn't necessarily want to be famous. Like everybody doesn't want to have this, crazy spotlight on them. A lot of people just want to, I'm trying to think of, I don't know, look at Andre 3000. Like he's a guy who's like, we don't hear nothing about him. He's not in the media. He doesn't do anything. Matter of fact, I saw like this video of him. He was like out performing somewhere randomly. Like I forgot where it was. I saw like a video of him. He just pulled up by himself. Let's see if I can find that. But what do you think about that, by the way? Like the fact that everybody doesn't want to be famous. Do you agree with that?
That's the thing, yeah. Like some people do just want to put their work out there. I mean, I guess you could sort of tie this in to you, right? Like you want to put these YouTube videos out there. You want people to sort of enjoy that work and appreciate it, but you yourself as a person don't want the recognition for that.
Yeah, so funny you touched on that. Yeah, bro. Personally, and we can talk a little bit about that later, right? We can go back and forth about what we think about it, but just to, I guess, spoil my opinion on that a little bit, yeah, I definitely don't want to be famous, right? There's other things I want to do in my life that if fame comes into that, it's like it kind of ruins it. It's so weird because, fame inherently is not evil. It's not really evil to me. It's just I don't want it. Like I don't see myself being, and it's not, by the way, I'm not famous like that. Again, I just think I'm recognized within a space, like I'm not famous. Would never consider myself famous. And, but the point is, I just don't want to, like, I don't want that kind of recognition, right? Like for me personally, I don't want it to be a part of my life. That's all.
So that's definitely an important thing to think about there. Like, not everyone intends to be famous, even with some rappers, Certain rappers are antisocial. I'm pretty sure there's even some, like, anonymous rappers out there, or rappers that try to keep their anonymity because they want to make the music, and a lot of people just want to be able to make a living off of their work without being publicly recognized.
Mm-hmm. That's huge, man, because in this era, it's almost like, I don't want to say impossible, but it's like, it's very hard to maintain your privacy, especially if you've put something out. Like if you've shared something about yourself, or I don't know, if there's pictures of you on the internet, it's pretty much impossible to have them deleted, right? So, and that's one thing about fame. It's kind of like we spoke about this before, but once you're in it, you can't really turn it off.
Exactly, man. Exactly. It's something that, I mean, unless, of course, there are certain situations where I'm sure there's a lot of people that used to be famous that can live a pretty comfortable, quiet life now, and they've got the money from being famous and they can just chill. But I'd say that, I don't know, a lot of the times that doesn't necessarily make up for the stress they went through when they were in the spotlight.
And that's one thing, actually. I want to speak on kind of like the whole, you don't have a private life. Unfortunately, man, like once you become famous, it's like you're now public property and people treat you as such.
And
you literally have no privacy.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know what one of the worst situations is with that? When it's like a younger person, like if it's like the child of a famous person, that's like their face is like they always like show up with that famous person, and like from the second that kid is born, like they have no choice in the matter. They're just instantly famous. And they didn't even choose it.
That has, I mean, yeah, they didn't choose it, and yeah, I mean it's it literally it goes from the person who made. It's because everyone who's around them is automatically they have a spotlight on them, right? So anyone around within that circle, they have a spotlight on them because, you know, because their friend is famous or their brother or whoever it is. And it makes anyone around them seem more interesting than they actually are, right? And people around them don't necessarily, they didn't ask for this. The family didn't ask to be famous. They're automatically famous because their loved one is now. But what were you going to say? I cut you off, my bad.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that kind of reminds me of on Offset's album, Father of Four. He had a line, I think maybe on the first song, where he was talking about his daughter Culture. And he's like, oh, I love her so much, like I can't even post her. Like I can't even post her on social media because then people will know who she is. But then she's literally on the album cover of that album.
Okay. But how old was she? How old was she when she, like, on that cover? Because this is actually one thing about, and I don't know how relevant this is, but, you know, regarding kind of like, I don't know, like the kids of people who are famous. If they post them when they're like 2 years old and they don't post them ever after that, they're still going to be not famous because kids don't look the same.
That's true. That's true. Although, then again, if you give them a very recognizable name like Culture with the K, I think people will recognize that just if they know the name.
That's actually a good point. I didn't think about that.
But yeah, man, it's sort of like at that point I do feel sorry for people that were kind of like we said, you know, not everyone chooses fame, and when there's kids in that situation, they don't have they can't really like think about it, what the positives and negatives are.
Yeah, because kids can't really think like on that realm. They're not, I mean, they're just not old enough to know what they're in. And that has to be a strange life, man. Just like growing up famous for not really doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're just famous because you're associated with your, I guess, like your dad or your mom being famous, right? And recognized.
Definitely. And you've got to wonder if that sort of gets in the way of them sort of like gets in the way of their development, right? Because like you said, it's not natural. And to be growing up with that in an unnatural way, it's an interesting thing, man.
It's crazy because it's not natural as an adult, right? But imagine growing up where, you know, where anyone who comes close to you, you kind of have to, you know, wonder, are they trying to get close to me because of what I have? That's another thing about fame too, right? I feel like we're really only hitting on the negatives, but, you know, the reason why I want to hit like on the negatives, and you're probably going to agree with me, but a lot of people only focus on the good parts about, oh, they got money, they're famous. Yeah, they got money and, you know, fame, but they don't have no fucking peace of mind. And peace of mind is literally priceless, bro. Like you can never put any, like, peace of mind is priceless. If you have peace of mind, man, if you can sleep at night knowing that people don't know everything about you and the media isn't literally, you know, paparazzi or outside of your fucking door. Like we've all seen that clip of Kanye in the morning, like 5 a.m, bro, standing there treating him like an animal. Have you seen that clip?
I don't think I actually have.
I'll put it on a screen, by the way, but
Peace of mind absolutely is priceless, bro. So that leads me to a question, and you did touch on this a little bit before, but do you or would you want to be famous?
nope.
On the
nope,
sort of
nope,
okay,
nope, nope,
okay.
nope, 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 nope. I don't want to be famous. Like I really, and I don't say that to, I don't know, like sound holier than thou. Oh, I don't want to be famous, but like I said before, man, fame wouldn't necessarily, for me, it's like one of those things where I've found a lane where I don't have to be a public person for me to do what I do. And I love what I do. I don't love I can't really love the fame aspect of it. I mean, I kind of see it, the recognition part of it because I get it on the internet, but I'm talking in my life. Like I don't see a reality where I'm that guy, right? And I recognize that about myself. I don't want to be in that kind of spotlight. You know what I mean?
Okay, interesting. Yeah,
But
definitely.
what about you? Because you're in this position. Like, maybe speak a little about a little bit about, I don't know, like the recognition aspect. And again, like I know, just so people don't get it twisted, you don't think you're famous, but it's like you're recognized, and you don't have to talk about certain instances where you've gotten recognized. But just like, how do you see the position you're in, and would you ever want to be way more recognized and stuff like that?
Well, I mean, I could speak on that because, I mean, at this point, I could count the times that I've been recognized in public, like, on both my hands. Like, honestly, it's like, it's not that many, but I have been recognized a few times in public before, and I guess it's a nice feeling. It's nice to know that people, even, like, in my own city, in Scotland, have, like, recognized me for my videos, but...
Oh, in your own city, that's lit, man.
Yeah, it's very interesting, man. There was one time, actually, I was going into this like grocery store, like 20 minutes away from the town that I used to live, and when I was walking in there, I saw this guy like kind of looking at me, but I didn't really think anything of it. And then I checked my Instagram DMs like after I left that shop, and someone DM me like, "Oh, did I just see you walking into that store in the place that it was?" And I was like, "Shit, that was someone that recognized me." Like,
So he
this
saw
close
you,
to
he
my
didn't say
town.
anything, right?
Yeah, didn't say anything. And it's interesting because, I mean, if anyone does see me in public, like 100% feel free to approach me and say hi, but be prepared for me to like still be like awkward with it, because it's a very strange experience just having a complete stranger come up to you and like they know you from the internet. It's like I still don't know how to react to it. So I definitely wouldn't want to get to the point where I was like being recognized multiple times per day.
That's
For
actually,
me, it's like
yeah. I was just gonna
just
add like a comment about that. That's like an interesting perspective because fame is, it's like a one-sided relationship, right? And like people know everything about you. They know the city you're from. They know the country you're from. They know what you look like. They know what music you listen to, right? And it's like you don't know anything about them, but they know everything about you. How does that make you feel?
it's an interesting thing, man. And honestly, I don't even really know. I don't even really know. At the moment, it's like I'm not even sure how I feel about it because it hasn't happened in a while. Because I mean, we're all locked down at the moment. Like, no one's really outside. But like, you know what I will say? I will like. If
What
I've
part?
got some time, if I'm not necessarily busy, like, because that's one thing that must suck about being famous. If you're busy and you got to be somewhere and you have people stopping you in the street, like that would make me so anxious.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah. That
for
probably like
example,
pissed me off. Like not you
yeah,
wouldn't show it, but just like, ah, damn it, damn it.
definitely. But if it was somewhere where I've got time, like for example, say I was at like a YouTube convention, like VidCon or something, I think there, if it's someplace that I've got time to do things, I really like, this has happened once or twice before, I really like talking to people that watch my videos just about rap music. Because there's not a lot of people like in real life, like in my like friend group or whatever, that listen to rap, that I can talk to about rap. So when someone that watches my videos comes up and we can like talk about it, it's kind of interesting because they already know my opinions, but I don't know about theirs. So I can ask them about that and we can have a sort of conversation and go off of that. I really like that.
That's also because I think you like that because that is a what we call like a controlled environment, right? Like you got to think about the fact that when people get recognized like just in the street, it's like they don't know what the situation is like. Why is this person coming up? Do they have other people? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a thing where, and I've seen it. Like, I've literally, I've been with some artists, right? I've gone to their shows, and I'm walking outside with them, and people are pulling up like, oh shit, like, and I'm standing there like kind of like analyzing the situation, and I'm looking at the artist, and I'm like, oh, he doesn't know what's going on. Oh, he does know what's going on. Like, they're trying to figure out everything in the moment. And that's another thing about fame. You really have to be, if you're going to handle it well, you have to be quick on your feet. And I think that comes like with practice, right? And that's why, by the way, this is why a lot of rappers, right, they move with a lot of people. Number one, it is an intimidation factor, right? So people are, and they're not trying to be assholes about it, right? It's just like they're moving with a lot of people because they're trying to go somewhere. And the more people they have, the less people are going to approach them, right? Especially if, there's some like big ass guys.
Oh yeah, for sure, man, for sure. I've got to get that security next time I hit up VidCon.
For sure, bro. I'll be your security, man.
Definitely, man, definitely. And the best thing is, no one will notice you.
Oh, that's true. But people kind of know. People kind of know what I look like. I mean, they know kind of what I look like a little bit.
True, but not exactly. Not exactly. You still got that going for you.
Facts, 1000%.
So definitely, man. Like I'd like it to an extent. To an extent. That's what I'll say about it.
See, you know what I think? I think the thing about fame is, and I'm kind of gonna contradict myself, right? I think there is I don't know. I'm trying to think about myself, but okay, I'm not gonna contradict myself. But the point I was trying to make was, I think there's a sweet spot of fame that's like really nice, right? If you don't cross that kind of like threshold, I guess, it's a nice life because you're recognized, but it's not to the point where it is what's the word? Kind of
detrimental
to your real life.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, technically, bro, if I show myself tomorrow, it's like I would not be a big deal at all. Like, not a big, like it would not really affect my life. It would only be, I guess like big if, I don't know, I pulled up to like a rap show and I know a lot of people there know me. Then it's like, oh, it's cool, that one moment. But I would say, considering with what I do, it's like there's really only a certain level you could reach. Like if you're an artist and you make great music, I mean, you're going to be famous. Like you're going to be you're going to be big, right? And that's when it gets, I don't know, that's when it kind of gets in the way of enjoying life a little bit, right? So there's a sweet spot. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Okay, so now that we've talked a little bit about fame, let's transition the conversation into a rapper that's been famous for a while, has managed to maintain that fame pretty well, and that is Lil Uzi Vert. Are you ready to talk about him, bro?
I'm ready.
Hey, I use the crap out like it's Betty.
Yes, sir. Hopefully people recognize the song, by the way.
Of course. If you don't know it, tell them what it is, bro.
Commercial featuring, actually it's Lil Baby featuring Lil Uzi Vert. That's a banger. That's hard as hell.
So why are we talking about Uzi today, man?
We're talking about Uzi, man, because in 2016, man, when Uzi came out, and he was obviously like a new name in the game, right? And that's when he that was the year Uzi blew up, right? 2016, and Uzi had a really hard time, man. Do you remember how a lot of old heads, man, they were really hating on Uzi? And I'm trying to think of so one situation I can think about right now is when Uzi pulled up to Hot 97, right?
Oh man, that's a legendary moment. Well, not legendary, an infamous moment at this point.
Infamous moment. A lot of people know about it, right? So Uzi pulled up to Hot 97, and he was asked to freestyle over a DJ Premier beat, right? Literally like a GOAT producer in hip hop, if for people who don't know. But he was gonna rap on his DJ Premier beat, and then he kind of like refused. I forgot what he said, but it was like an in the moment kind of thing. Like, I'm not gonna rap on that. And
yeah, it was something along the lines of him not wanting to, or he doesn't like rapping over old beats. Something to that effect.
Yeah. So so pretty much it was. I mean, it wasn't anything like negative in terms of like he wasn't dissing the culture or nothing. He was like he wasn't feeling the beat because it wasn't his style, I guess, right? And he said no. And I don't remember if this was it after he did that. I'm trying to think. He did an interview, That's the same moment, actually, if I'm not mistaken. That's the same interview where Ebro was kind of like if people don't know, by the way, who Ebro is, he's like a personality, a journalist in hip hop, a really big one, and he's the one who conducts those Hot 97 interviews, right? But he was in this case, right? He was the old head who was really kind of, kind of like hating on Uzi, man. Uzi was a new artist, and what did he say? Like, do you remember any of the things he?
I remember, ironically, one of the things he specifically said. I mean, that was 2016, so Uzi was what, like 24 at that point, 23, 24, or
He
maybe
was more
even
like
younger.
22.
Actually.
Yeah, he was more like 22.
So he was 22, and Ebro said something to him along the lines of when, like, it was something to the effect of when rappers like you get to the age of 27 or 28, you get to struggling. And
damn,
Uzi's 26 now. He's far from struggling, bro.
I mean, Uzi is, he's one of the most successful, like from the new generation of rap. He's doing amazing.
Absolutely.
And that was like 5 years ago, right? At this point, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And he's far from struggling. But yeah,
absolutely.
Keep going.
And it's worth mentioning that at some point last year, in March of last year, Ebro did sort of acknowledge that. He made a tweet where I can quote it word for word here. He said, "So glad I pressed Uzi Vert 4 years ago. He proved me wrong. Exactly what I love. Hope more artists do the same when I question your talent or skills." So he acknowledged that like Uzi has completely surpassed what he thought he would, at least.
But see, the thing is too, and this is not like a shot at Ebro or anything like that. I respect what he does, but I think there's a way to kind of question artists, right?
Yeah, I think he did it kind of disrespectfully in that interview.
Yeah, he did, man. Uzi was like that was one of his first like major interviews, right? Uzi had never done anything like that. If I'm not mistaken, it was like one of his first like big interviews, right? And like there's a way you question without really throwing this young artist under the bus, man, because Uzi was a young guy back then. Like, he didn't have a lot of industry experience, and he was just blowing up, right? And that whole interview, I think it kind of did sell like a little narrative that, these young rappers don't really care about the culture, all because he didn't want to rap on this old school beat. And yeah, speaking of that, like DJ Premier, like literally the guy, the GOAT producer whose instrumental Uzi didn't want to rap on, like he chopped it up with Uzi, and he said specifically what he said was, the dude is up on so much hip hop. So he co-signed Uzi, and I don't know when this was, but he spoke to Uzi, and
I believe
there was no bad blood. Was it 2018?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But he literally said, hey, I mean, he knows what Uzi's up on hip hop, and he said something along the lines of, it wasn't his style. Like, that's all. It wasn't anything negative, right? Like, it was literally, this is not his style.
Yeah, and that completely makes sense. Like, if that's just because a rapper doesn't want to rap over old beats doesn't mean that they don't respect that era. It just means that they don't think it's for them, or they don't think that that's what they would work best with, right?
There we go. Perfect. And it's not necessarily it's not coming from a bad place. And Uzi has always, struck me as a guy who does have genuine, pure intentions.
Yeah. Definitely, man. You know what the funny thing is?
Yeah.
Back in 2016, when the whole Hot 97 interview happened, I was like, at that time in 2016, I was one of those people that didn't like Uzi at all. And Uzi was one of those rappers back then. I was like, man, this is trash. Who listens to this? This is awful. Like, I didn't like his voice. I liked the beats he picked, but I didn't like his flows. I didn't like the...
Bro, it sounds like you were like a full-on old head. Not like kind of, but just like you were an old head, man.
To a certain degree, man. If you watch, like, I did a worst rappers in the game video on Uzi back then. I disagree with that video so much now, bro.
Damn it!
So much.
Don't even start, man. God damn it! I mean, you're a changed man right now, though, right?
Definitely, man. I mean, at that point, like, I'm 22 now, so I would have been, 2016. I would have been like 16, 17. So like,
damn, you're a kid, man. Yeah, you're young.
Yeah, bro. I'm a young guy. So like, that's the thing. Like, my opinions have changed a lot since then, because I just grow to like his music a lot more. I actually really like Uzi now, so I'm one of those old heads, I guess, that he's grown on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't classify myself as an old head now, though. Far from it.
Nah, definitely. I mean, you're not. And yeah, I think it's beautiful how Uzi kind of. I mean, see, Uzi kind of took the hit for this next generation. He really did, man. Like Uzi was getting beat up, like figuratively speaking, right? In terms of criticism, like people were. He was kind of like Uzi was kind of like when Thug was coming up. Same thing with Thug, and the same thing with Wayne. When Wayne was coming up, man, like Wayne took the biggest hits of them all because Wayne was not respected. Like he was respected, but I'm saying a lot of people kind of pinned him as the guy who ruined hip hop. But this is pretty much this new generation of rappers, kind of I guess like their way of saying, hey, big F you. And Yachty even has this. He actually put up this tweet yesterday. Was it actually today? He said, "I promise I rap better than, I rap better than the majority of these niggas." He's talking about, I think, I don't know. Is he talking about the old heads? I'm not sure.
Maybe he's talking about the people that are currently out. Maybe he thinks.
Oh, true.
Because I feel like he definitely feels like his skills as a rapper aren't respected.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he's talked about that
respected.
A lot.
Yeah. At the end, man, like Uzi really did the distance, and he really succeeded. I mean, his success is like undeniable. This is why Ebro put up that tweet and said, what did he say? I forgot what he said, but he said, "So glad I pressed Uzi, right? Hope more artists do the same when I question your talent or skill." And it's like you can't really recognize what he's done, and that's probably why he said what he said. And
yeah, and that was right after that tweet was like right after he dropped Eternal Take, and then the next week dropped Lil Uzi Vert versus the World 2.
That's exactly
and
what I was
both of
gonna
those
say.
were like big albums, bro.
They were huge. He did numbers, and
Really
he
big
succeeded.
albums.
But yeah, bro, apart from this Uzi conversation we just had, let's talk a little bit about Pop Smoke, man. Yesterday, at the time of me recording this, it was actually the 1 year anniversary of his passing. So obviously, God rest that man's soul, man. He was special. He left us way too early, and I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of like his impact and how special he was, because Pop Smoke to me, man, like I think everyone agrees with this, by the way, but he really had a different kind of energy and spirit that he came with on his records, which is why I think his music became so successful after he passed away. What do you think?
Absolutely, man. Rest in peace to Pop Smoke, of course. And I talked about this in a recent video of mine. I think it's crazy the amount of sort of impact and influence he managed to have while he was only 20 years old, and he'd been rapping for such a short time. And he just had an energy on his songs that can't be replicated, man. Just that voice. Like, obviously, it's been compared to 50 Cent, but, like, you can't 100% replicate that voice, man. He was
really
gifted
can't.
with that.
I mean, he's I don't know. He's like the closest thing to 50, man. Right?
Absolutely.
Energy and aura. Like he always Pop Smoke, man. Like he always came correct on his records, and it's sad, really sad. Like just thinking about how far he would have. Wow, imagine if he was still alive when his album dropped. Shoot for the stars, aim for the moon.
That's the thing. Like he was around for such a short time that he barely even got to get started on his potential. That's the scary thing. Like he was making, in my opinion, like really great music, and sort of he was like the face of a hip hop subgenre, and he just barely got to get started, man. He didn't have the opportunity to fully, take his music where he wanted to get it to.
1,000%, bro. Like he was gonna. I think he was really gonna not only shoot for the stars, man, but I think he would have been the leader of something new. I mean, he kind of was. Just he's not here, but he really was the leader of an entire like thriving movement, because the whole New York like drill movement, man, like it's going crazy right now, bro.
Yeah, bro. I mean, literally, whenever I think Brooklyn drill or New York drill, I think Pop Smoke. Like that to me, that's his genre. And the crazy thing is, as well, on Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon, he also kind of like branched outside that a little bit. He did like some tracks in a different style. Like you had some ones that sounded like some 90s hip hop slash like R&B infused tracks. Like what was that one called? Something Special. I think Something Special was a great song. Like that gives me such
great.
an old school vibe. It makes me feel good, that song, man.
I
What
mean,
You Know About Love, like.
yep. I was gonna add in like think about how big Mood Swings became, right? And that was like a different vibe. That was like a completely different vibe, and he dominated. He killed that shit, man. Shout out to Lil TJ too. He had a really cool feature on it.
She said she a virgin. It's hurting.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but the thing I'm wondering like how much of that sort of like the variety of music Pop Smoke wanted in there, because I know he wasn't fully alive like for the completion of the album, right?
That's actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's true.
Yeah, I don't
quote
think
me on
he
that.
was.
Are you sure about that?
I'm almost pretty certain that he like the album wasn't fully complete at the time that he passed away.
Okay,
So
I didn't know that.
yeah, so I'm sort of wondering like how much of that he wanted to put on there, but regardless, I think it probably was like a good indication of how he wanted to expand his sound and his music, and in my opinion, he did it really well. Like that expansion of his sound, it showed that he could do something other than the Brooklyn drill, because I know for a lot of people that didn't necessarily listen to Pop Smoke that much, you could probably hear a couple of the drill songs of his and think, okay, a lot of his music probably sounds, similar. Like a lot of the songs sound similar to each other, and some people don't like that, and that's kind of how I felt at first when I heard a couple Pop Smoke songs. When I first heard about him, I was like, okay, this is cool. Like it has a really good energy to it. It's a different sound, but some of these tracks sound a bit too similar.
Yeah.
But then when I actually started listening to his stuff, I was like, man, I don't even care. This shit goes hard as hell. I don't care how similar some of these tracks sound.
that's so funny. And that was the thing about Pop Smoke, man. Like, people thought they had him figured out. You know what I mean? Like, you listen to a couple of his tracks, and it's like, okay, this is what he makes, but not really. No, he really had range. He could do so much with his crazy special voice.
Absolutely, I agree with you, man. And it's like it's to the point now where, man, it hurts me when like I see people say, oh yeah, I haven't really listened to Pop Smoke, but I don't think I'd like his music, or people saying that they didn't think he was all that great. Like obviously people can have whatever opinions they have on his music, but I see that and I'm like, man, this guy would have been like I mean he is, but he could have been like a legend for a long time during his life if he lived on for like a much longer time.
Crazy part is, like, I mean, just think about this, man. He was 20, bro.
20 years old. You couldn't tell from his voice, but 20 years old.
Even like the way he looked, like he just looked like a old guy, like older guy, right? He didn't look his age, and he didn't sound his age, and he certainly didn't act his age. Like Pop Smoke was, I mean, I don't know, like on a personality level, like the way he carried himself, he really carried himself like a man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that actually reminds me of something that Quavo said about him. I can't remember the exact quote, but Quavo said the way that Pop Smoke works in the studio, the way that he kind of makes his music, it looks like and it feels like he's been doing it for way longer than he has.
Kind of like he's been, I guess, like prepared for that moment, right?
Yeah, like sort of like that was just what he was meant to do. Like he was like wise beyond his years.
I wouldn't doubt that for a second.
Absolutely, man.
He just seemed like he was like he's literally, I don't know how long. Do you know how long he was rapping for?
Man, it was like literally just over a single year, I'm pretty sure.
That's nothing. I didn't know that. I thought he had been rapping for like a couple years at least.
I think he recorded his first song in 2018, and I believe it was because one of his friends that he was in the studio with, they fell asleep. So he went into the booth and he was like, "Okay, I'll try something." And
that's actually funny.
Yeah, he like made his first song in there. I believe it was called MCR, I think.
And then the homies woke up to some fire.
yeah, exactly.
Imagine just being in the studio like that, man. Just waking up and then, oh, he just made a banger. Bro, you're a rapper. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. The song was NPR.
And NPR, okay.
But yeah, literally he just went into the booth when his friend just fell asleep in the studio, got high and fell asleep.
That's funny, man, because imagine if he hadn't, You know, if the homies didn't fall asleep, maybe he would have never had the confidence. Because I don't know what the story is, but I'm saying, what if he went into the booth? You know, we're speculating right now, but what if he went into the booth because he had the confidence, like he was completely by himself. They were all like asleep, right? And he just did his thing.
Yeah, it's like without that happening, who knows if he would have even, if that's something he would have even fully went for like pursuing. But I'm happy he did, man, because that was absolutely like what he was meant to do. With that voice, if you have that voice and you're not rapping, bro, like,
Yeah.
it's crazy, man. It's crazy, and it's just, it is so awful that he passed at such a young age, man.
Very, very awful, man. And yeah, we could talk about how sad it is for like hours because, you know, it's, I always say this, but like lost potential, but the impact is undeniable, man. And that's the thing, man. Just like the Uzi case, you know, we talked about Uzi being kind of like the guy who took hits, right? He took the hits for this new generation. Pop Smoke, I mean, he might have passed away, but so much. I mean, his music is just so impactful and affected so many people, right? He moved so many people. That's the thing about Pop Smoke. His music makes you move, right? And like no other. Like I've never seen an artist capture so many people's attention like with doing it that way. Something
Yeah,
special about him, man.
definitely, man. Definitely. To just, I know we've already touched on it, but it does just blow my mind that he was doing it for such a little amount of time. He was so young and he had this much impact.
He was just made for this. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, even if this just like, this is just a Pop Smoke praise session right now, and that's exactly how it should be, bro. He deserves that respect.